Hey, and here we are for the 2018 District 1 AAA East Tournament predictions brought to you by Joe Youngblood. Starting off 106 pounds. Uh, well, first, as you can see the bracket behind or on the screen as I talk, you can kind of look and I'll talk a little bit about it. But this tournament, probably not the toughest one to do some predictions for, but the one that was probably might be the most exciting of the weekend, just because of some of the different brackets have some of the competition you'll see within them. With the West and the Central tournaments, it's kind of be a lot of rematches between the Pac and the Chessmont schools in their respective tournaments. The Del Val League not bringing a whole lot to the table. A few tough kids overall, but not as much depth as the Chessmont has, and the same with the Central League, not bringing the depth of talent that they've had in years past. So that's where this tournament probably has a little bit more appeal to it. And if we weren't covering the West tournament, the Central, this is probably where I would be to spectate at the very minimum. So we look at this one, and as you can see right where I have it set up, where you can see right to the final, Kyle Hauserman, 1 seed, as a result of being the champ in the National last week, beating Kyle Waterman from Rock South, which was a pretty close match in their dual meet earlier in the year, and Hauserman getting the best of Waterman that time. I think they both make the final again. They're clearly the best two guys in the weight class, and I think Waterman gets revenge on Hauserman after last week. Again, this is two guys that I think, quite possibly could meet next week at regionals too. So I don't think this little rivalry they have going here is anything close to being over for this season. In this weight class also, you look at Kyle Miller from Quakertown enjoying a nice season, and Dylan Moore as well. So those are guys that are going to be in the mix here as we drop down. Look at the wrestlebacks, with Miller and Moore both losing in the semifinals as you saw up there, both dropping down and winning their consolation semifinal match and meeting for third place, with Kyle Miller from Quakertown taking third and Galang taking fifth place with a win over Marion. And you look at this weight class, and it has a marquee matchup in the final. And yes, it's a rematch from last week, but still a marquee matchup nonetheless. And as we look at 113, we look at another weight class that has a potential marquee matchup in the finals, and with Max Mendez and Luke Luzerne. But not to be counted out is Corey Cope from Quakertown, and Zach Martin from the Chamonix. And you have these guys, four tough guys right there, and then you mix in a Matt Fritz into the mix that is also tough in his own right. So you only four go, and you have a lot of talent in this weight class. But I think Lucerne wins the bracket. I think Mendez beats Martin, and makes the finals, and Lucerne beats Mendez, as he has before in his career. I just think Lucerne probably down at 113, more where he should have been probably earlier in the season. But some of those losses he had earlier in the year probably helped to make him a little bit tougher and a little bit more battle tested for this run here in the postseason after taking sixth place in the state last year. And he's one step closer rather to getting two states by winning this bracket here. Mendez taking second. As we look at the drop down, and with Martin losing in the semis, and Fritz losing in the other semis, unfortunately Fritz has to contend with Cope after losing to Mendez. Cope comes through and ends up taking fourth, losing to Zach Martin from the Chamonix, who had a nice tournament last weekend, and then Fritz beats Andrews for fifth place. Again, Cope, they're a tough guy that that Cope Mendez match could go either way, and that the winner of that match and Martin could go either way. But I think Mendez, the saying goes up there in Rock South, made for March, and I know Coach Sill and McCormick will have that have those guys ready, and in a rematch situation like that with Martin, if he gets to it, will be all the difference. Let's move to 120 pounds. Again, another weight class with some top end talent, but a lot of tough wrestlers to boot inside the weight class. And you look at Shane Hansen Ashworth is the 1 seed, but John Shalinsky from Council Rock North, although 14-14, is a tough wrestler, and Connor Eck from Ben Salem is enjoying a nice freshman season. And Jake Rose from Abington, another freshman, is pretty tough and just was caught in a tough weight class in that Suburban 1 National. And again, Vincent Desperito shouldn't be forgotten about either. Again, another underclassman with a pretty nice record and some pretty good wins to boot. But Hanson Ashworth is the clear-cut favorite to win this. And I apologize I didn't put the Ashworth in, but there wasn't a whole lot of room. I think everyone, I apologize, Shane, if you're upset by that, but it was just a matter of just keeping it kind of neat on the bracket. That I omitted that aspect of it, and then he beats Jake Rose in the finals. And then if we look at the drop down with Eck and Shalinsky coming down, and Eck and Shalinsky dropping down. Shalinsky would coming in and has a good match with Desperito from Quakertown, but Shalinsky ultimately wins, and Eck beats Brammer to get to the Conci final as well, and Eck beats Shalinsky to take third, and Desperito beats Brammer to take 5th place. So again, another weight class that is going to be fun to watch and see how it unfolds, because kind of one of those ones where everyone's wrestling for 2nd place, and there's a lot of talent in the pool there to draw from. And it could be Desperito beating Shalinsky, or it could be Eck beating Rose and Rose dropping down. So again, a lot of them it could be almost flip a coin of who gets out. But there's 5 or 6 guys that can contend for those 4 spots. Now moving to 126 pounds, this is the one that everyone's talking about. And it's there's already some tough guys that have already home, didn't get out of their league tournament. Now we look into the district tournament, and Gunnar Fuss, our number 1 seed. You have Anthony Colella, who's 33-3 on the year. Didn't even win his respective tournament. Lost to Sam Beckett from Satterton in the final. You have Josh Stahl down at the bottom, was champion from the American. Marco Di Battista, who lost to Stahl, was a state qualifier a year ago. You have Colton Jordan, who was runner-up to Gunnar Fuss. You have Braden Riccini, who was 3rd place from Rock South. You have Sammy Hayes, who's a tough wrestler, and just there's so many tough kids in this weight class. I think Fuss is the class of the weight class, so I think he wins. I think Stahl gets to the final, but I mean, he's gonna earn it to get there, in my opinion. Anyone that comes out of that bottom half of the bracket's gonna earn it. I mean, you look at that bottom half of the bracket. I mean, the top half isn't easy either. You have Fuss, Colella, and Di Battista in the top half. I think Fuss is the best. I have Colella beating Di Battista, as you can see, and I look back and I think I pick against Di Battista regularly, and I probably shouldn't, because all he's done is ever prove me wrong. But something tells me Colella's gonna win. It's a gut feeling. But you look at the bottom, like Beckett, and then Jordan wins his first match, and Beckett Jordan in that quarterfinal. I think the junior gets the best of the freshman. Again, I could be wrong, because the freshman Beckett got the best of the junior Colella last week. But I'm just gonna go with Colton Jordan. I like what's going on in the Chamonix program. It's on the way up. Got some tough kids in it. And then that Ricchini and Stahl match, I think, is going to be a great match to watch. This whole bracket's going to be fun to watch and see how it transpires. But I think Ricchini and Stahl, I think I'm going to give the nod to Stahl. And then with Jordan and Stahl, I'm going to go with Stahl again. I'm going to ride the Quakertown, the Panther train, and go with Stahl into the semis. I'm sorry, into the finals to lose to the Fuss. Now here's where it gets interesting in the wrestlebacks in this. And I tell you what, like I went through matchups and I went through who wrestled who, and I mean it was. I mean, you could run it a million different ways and come up with something different each time. But I have DiBattista coming through and wrestling Jordan. And again, at this point in time, I'm going to say it. I'm going to stop picking against Marco DiBattista. I got DiBattista to beat Jordan. And then I have Beckett beating Ricchini. And then Beckett beating Colella. But then losing to DiBattista after, for third place, and DiBattista taking third, Beckett in fourth, and I got Colella beating Jordan for fifth place. I'm probably going to take the most criticism from this one. I've got some gut feelings on this. Like I said, I picked against DiBattista up here with Colella, but somewhere along the lines of doing this bracket, I got into the mindset like I gotta stop picking against this kid because all he does is make me look bad, and I'm gonna have him there win 3 in a row after losing to Colella to take third place and get back to regionals. And half the battle in this weight class is just getting the regionals and getting past some of these guys and weeding out some of this talent, just because it's just this is probably I think everyone agrees maybe the probably the toughest bracket in all 3 tournaments combined, with as far as much talent that's in there. So that's what I got for 126 in the East, and everyone was hanging, waiting to hear predictions for this one. Everyone's making some predictions about it. Satch, I know you. I believe it was you commenting on it. This one was not easy to do whatsoever, and it was fun nonetheless, looking up all the common opponents and seeing when they wrestled each other before and what the score was, and I talked to some people about just some opinions, and this is what I got. So we move on to 132 pounds, and it's another weight class with a lot of guys that can make the final. You have 4 tough guys that all could make the final one way or another if things go their way. But I think when it shakes out, you're going to see Ben Radner and AJ Tamburino are in the final, with Radner winning. I took Radner to win, and I touched on earlier in this year, and when I had a chance to interview him after the Rock North match, he's got unfinished business, and he's focused. He wants to get back to states, and I feel he's just wrestling well. And this is just another step in him getting back to states and getting on that podium, as he talked about being a goal of his. I think he beats Tyler Williams in the semis, and then on the bottom half of the bracket, AJ Tamburino coming out. But some good matches. Probably the matchup of the quarterfinals of watching this weight class will be Dominic DeFalco from Quakertown, freshman upstart, against Shane Thompson, the senior from Rock North, who lost to Radner in the finals last week of the Suburban 1 National Tournament. I'm going with the youth movement. I said it before, I'm a fan of this Quakertown team, a lot of young talent on it, and I think DeFalco gonna kind of be his coming out party in a sense. If you haven't heard of him already or haven't seen him wrestle yet, see him come out and beat Thompson, and then he gets Tamburino. Well, it's tall task to expect a freshman to beat those kids of that caliber back to back. Loses the Tamburino and then drops down, and you see where he drops down and gets Michael Clarkson from Plymouth Whitemarsh, and after Clarkson beats Hurtcorn from Pennsbury, and then Thompson drops on the bottom, gets Austin Saba from the Chamonix, and Thompson beats him. And Thompson-Williams match, if this holds true, will be a great match to get to regionals. Again, there's five good guys, and there's only 4 spots, and really the winner, in my opinion, the winner of that Thompson DeFalco match is huge. That's the key. The winner of that match will avoid Williams on the way through wrestlebacks. So you'll really see a lot of, you know, 2 guys really going for it. I think they, you know, not thinking they're not going to win that match against Tamburino in the semis, but knowing how much is at stake in that quarterfinal match to not see Tyler Williams in that consolation semifinal. You know, Thompson, in my opinion, in this bracket, having lost to DeFalco earlier, will see Tyler Williams and lose to Tyler Williams, and DeFalco will then lose to Williams for 3rd place, with Thompson beating Clarkson for 5th place. And so it shakes out 132 pounds in my humble opinion. If we go to 138 pounds, Cam Robinson is the 1 seed here, and kind of the clear-cut one in my opinion. You know, his state qualifier a year ago has improved upon you know, that freshman season. He's 28-5 right now, and wrestling extremely well. I have him coming out after beating Connor Lovelace and getting Corey Showaker from CB South in the semis, and beating Showaker to reach the finals. On the bottom half, Eric Wolishin beating Hassan, and then beating one of the other freshmen from Quakertown, Patrick McCoy. Another kid's fun to watch, but just doesn't have it yet to run with a guy like Wolishin from Rock South, who's battle tested through and through. But Wolishin runs into Harrison Andrade from Souderton, and I feel Andrade's going to beat him, but then lose to Robinson in the finals. And we look at drop down here. Lovelace beats Vegas, Wolishin beats Lovelace, and McCoy beats Natelli, and then McCoy beats Showaker, but loses to Wolishin again, and then Showaker beats Lovelace for 5th place. Again, the young freshman from Quakertown just doesn't have it yet to run with Wolishin, but you know, just recapping it, Robinson, the class of this bracket, you know, will be tested by Andrade, but ultimately Robinson, you know, just gonna be a little bit too much for him. So moving on to 145 pounds. And this one has a potential for a great finals matchup between Jackson Erb and Evan Whiting, and that's the one that I have picked. But you know, Brad Mallon enjoyed a nice senior season for the Hatters of Hatboro Horsham, and you know, aside from those 3, I don't think there's anyone that has the potential to come out and win this match. You know, Whiting and it looks like it's gonna be Whiting and Erb. I mean, that's what I have down, and I don't see another way of it happening. But Mallon's a pretty tough kid, and when the smoke clears, he's going to be in the mix for going to regionals. You know, you have in the semis here Whiting and Goldie, and Mallon and Erb, and I already gave my pick for the finals. We look at the drop downs here, and Trowbridge beating Polenshaw, Wheeler beating Avellino, Mallon beating Wheeler, Trowbridge coming out and beating Goldie. Again, Trowbridge was getting a lot of hype earlier in the year. Has some bad losses, and maybe not wrestling as well as he did last year at this time. And but you know, any event makes it back to regionals, loses to Mallon in the 3rd place match, and Goldie beats Wheeler for 5th. And you know, 145 pounds. You know, doesn't have some of the depth of talent that the other weight classes at the East tournament does, but you know, Erb and Whiting is going to be a match that's going to be fun to watch there in the final. You know, there's the possibility for some good fireworks in that match. Both guys are going to be going after it. I just have a hunch on Whiting. He's wrestling really well this season. I mean, so is Jackson. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I'm going to go with the fact Whiting was seconds away from being a state qualifier last year. Again, had it snatched away from him in the winning seconds. I think he's wrestling with a lot of confidence at this point of the season, and I know RP Norley and staff are going to have him well prepared for this tournament. Moving on to 152 pounds. And we have the 1 seed Dylan Sheehy from Rock North, champ from the Suburban 1 National. Eric won the champ from the Continental. Davis Wheeler from Hatboro, the American champ. But the guys you want to watch in this weight class, aside from those three mentioned, is Cole Flanagan from Rock South. I think Flanagan comes out and makes the final after beating Laughlin and Wheeler. He lost to Sheehy in the finals last week. I think that in the rematch, I think Sheehy wins again, but Flanagan comes out of that pigtail into the quarters and wins in the semis and gets to the final only to lose again. And if we look down at the consolation bracket, after Renzi and Wheeler make the semis, unfortunately Laughlin coming through on that wrestleback beats Renzi from the Chamonix, and Wheeler does beat Bass, and Wheeler beats Laughlin for third place, and then Bass beats Renzi for fifth. And there's your top 6, in my opinion, of 152 pounds here in the East. And you could go again, talking about that final. Again, back to it. I don't know what it is about it. I think he's gonna get the best of Flanagan again, but again, it could go either way. But for whatever reason, I'm just going to stick with Sheehy. He's, wrestling well, beat him last week, and that's what I'm going to stick with. I'm not going to second guess it anymore than I already have, going back and forth. Again, another weight class is not as strong as some of the others. Wasn't not a lot of matches in those wrestlebacks or the early rounds that were real tough ones to look at. Not like he's talked about 120, 120, or 113 and 126 in this bracket. £160. Pat O'Neill, the 1 seed, big win in the finals last week over Logan Green from Penridge. We're at the shoot him and talking about how I see that coming back as a rematch with O'Neill winning again over Green. But a few other guys to look at here. Matt Needleman. Glenn's been telling me for weeks how great he's been wrestling. And he has. I mean, he's doing fairly well. And Needleman, I think, makes the semifinals. He's gonna have a tough match with Dan Esnoff from Ben Salem in the quarterfinals, but I believe he gets there. Green will have a good match with Gunnar Spain in the quarters, but gets past him, and Green then gets past Zach Fisher from Plymouth White Marsh to get to the final against O'Neill, only to lose there. But then we look at the wrestleback, and there's no weight class that's not loaded with a bunch of hammers, but it's loaded with a bunch of solid guys, like regional caliber wrestlers. So that this one was in the wrestlebacks was not a clear, easy pick by any sense of imagination. And one guy we're forgetting about too, or that I didn't mention, was Nick Nacero from Rock North. Missed some time with some injuries, and he comes out, has a tough match with Esnoff. I believe he then beats Fisher from PW to get qualified for regionals, and doesn't stop there. He beats Needleman for third place. Needleman coming in off the drop down after the cross bracket of the losing the semis, beats Gunnar Spain, and then Fisher beats Spain in the 5th place match. So again, Nucera was a guy I didn't intentionally not mention him when I talked about the championship side of the bracket. It's just I didn't, he didn't think, first at first sight when you look at it, didn't have him winning. But then when I scratched the surface and looked at some more, he's a guy that's gonna make some noise there in that consolation bracket after he runs in a tough match with O'Neal in the quarterfinals. So as we move on now to 170 pounds, and it's another match where I think there's a lot of talented guys, and at the end of the day, this is Nick Corbich's weight class to lose. I think he gets Brock Lineback in the finals. Just the way I think this will pan out. I think Corbich comes out at top half of the bracket. Top half of the bracket is easier than the bottom half, hands down. The runner-up from the American, Mason Novak, hasn't really wrestled very tough competition. Very tough competition this year. I don't think Corbich will have any trouble with him getting to the finals. Then you look at the bottom half of the bracket. You got Dentner, you have Esanov, you have Leinbach and Zubik. You have right there 4 guys, and again, you can put those 4 names in the hat and draw one out, and I'd almost be okay with any one of those 4 saying, okay, yeah, they make the final, because they're pretty talented guys. They've wrestled pretty tough schedules and have seen success. When it all shakes out, I think Leinbach is going to be the guy that gets through to the final. I think he's I use that term scraps. I think he's been more scraps than Zubik. I think he beat Zubik in the quarterfinals. The Chamonix schedule is tougher than Upper Morelands. There's no question about that. Esnoff and Dentner is going to be a great match there in that quarterfinals. I think Dentner wins, and I think Leinbach knocks him off, and Corbich ultimately beats Leinbach in the finals. We drop down, we see, Esnoff and Zubik wrestle. Again, they were, they're guys that could have been in the finals, and there they are wrestling in the Conci quarters. I have Esnoff winning. Novak gets into the Conci semis just because the top half of the bracket isn't that tough, and Esnoff takes care of Novak, and then you have Dentner and Young wrestling, and Dentner beating him, and Esnoff beating Dentner this time in the rematch, in the same day rematch. Esnoff winning, and then Novak beating Young for 5th place. So 170 pounds, albeit it's not a lot of hammers, but a lot of talented guys nonetheless. And again, you have 5 or 6 guys competing that worthy of it, that are competing for 4 spots. So that's what we got for that. Let's move on to 182 pounds. And again, I made the comment in the Central bracket about 120 pounds with Brandon Meredith. You could just put Stillings down and leave it at that, because everyone else is wrestling for 2nd place. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to talk about the bracket. Stillings is hands down favorite in this bracket. He is just been on a mission all season long after being a state runner-up last year, and nothing changes today. This weekend is just another step towards that goal. I expected a business-like approach. One thing I do respect about Josh is he never shows anybody up. He is clearly better than most kids he steps foot in the mat with, especially within District 1 in the last 2 years. And he never goes out and flaunts it. And he just goes out and he just does his job. He wins when he's supposed to win. He pins when he's supposed to pin. He's going and does it. There's nothing flashy about it. He just goes out and he wrestles. He wins. He shakes your hand, tells you good job, and he goes about his business. And it's very he doesn't say a whole lot. he lets his actions speak louder than his words, and he's a guy that gives back to the sport. And so I just want to like make anyone that's not aware of it, what he does, outside of wrestling as well. Volunteering time, officiating, going and coaching in the Penridge Youth Program. Kid does a lot, and it's one of those things where it should be recognized and applauded because he doesn't. He does things the right way, and it's one of the neat things about him. And he's probably the most humble kid you'll ever talk to. He's one of the quietest kids too, and it's funny because he gets on the mat and he's just he's not ferocious, but he just comes at you, and he's technically fun to watch. So that's I'm off the I'm gonna be done talking about Stillings now. He's gonna win this bracket, but Steve's gonna get in against him. Guys really come on for the Rock South Golden Hawks. Gilch gonna make it out to the semis after beating Eckley and Ori from PW, and but Stillings gonna take care of him and run to the finals. And we look at the bottom half, and you got Alex Litz, who's having a nice senior season, and Harry Green, who's undefeated up to this point, but he'll get to 30 wins on the day on 30-0, but Stillings gonna beat him in the finals. And then we look down at the drop down, and Ori coming out and wrestling Litz in that Conti semi match, with Litz getting the better of him. And then you look down at the bottom, and you got Clements, who was the runner-up. He's 28-8 on the season coming this weekend. Runs into Litz in that top and the bottom half of the winners bracket, and then Gilch dropping down. And although Gilch having a nice season, I think Clemens beats him and then loses to Gilch for third place, and Gilch beats Ori for fifth place. And so there you have it. It goes Stillings, Green, Litz, Clements, Gilch, and Ori for your 182 pounds here at the District 1 AAA East tournament. And with that said, we'll move right into 195 pounds. And we have the 1 seed Bruno Stolfi. And this is, a weight class that got 3 pretty tough kids. And then, I have some other guys that fill the rest of the bracket. I think Bruno Stolfi wins this one. I think he gets John Keller from Wissahickon in the semis. Keller comes out beating Seibel, and then beats Weinstein from Rock South, but loses to Stolfi. And you look at the bottom half, I think Yusuf Aladinov, who lost to Stolfi the week before, beats Murray, and then beats Flynn, and then beats Davis Lee from Pensbury, who have been pretty high on this year. But something about it, I think Aladinov does gets it done, but then loses to Stolfi again. And we look down at the wrestlebacks, and one guy I didn't mean to overlook on the top half, because he wins his first match and then loses to Davis Lee, is David Blanchard. Missed a ton this year because of injury, and if he's back on his game, he's which I have not heard he's 100%, but I have not heard he's not. So I'm gonna assume that he is, and he'll lose. I think he loses to Davis Lee, not because Davis Lee is that much better of a wrestler, but because he's just missed time, and I think he's probably working his way back into match shape. And as a result, Davis Lee, having already 32 matches under his belt, is already there. I think beats Blanchard based upon that, and I think Blanchard comes down and wrestles Logan Flynn and beats Flynn, and then gets Keller on the drop down from the cross bracket of the semis. I think he beats Keller, and he gets a rematch with Davis Lee, and loses again ultimately, because I think he's still wrestling his way back into match shape, and it just takes a while. And I think Lee gets him again, and then Garcia beats Keller for fifth place to fill out that 195-pound bracket. And we can move into 220 pounds. This is another one where I think there's some be some good matches, especially the finals. I think Chapman and Verisby gets into the finals against one another. I think Chapman wins. Chapman 31 of the season's lone losses to Hunter Katka from Sun Valley. I just think the Chapman will be, that Haparo coach Kaiser will have him ready to go to make another run at a regional title. Although he lost pretty convincingly to Katka, but we won't get too far ahead of ourselves. Verespe will get to the finals, and it should be a good match between the two of them. I think Chapman comes out on top. We look at some of the other matchups here in this first round, and Hyber from CB West will make the semis, as will Cluin from Bensalem, only to lose to to Chapman and Verespe. And then if we go down and look at the wrestlebacks, Belgian from Penridge, the seniors 14-14. I just like his chances coming out against Zach Manning, Internet Wrestleback, beating him, and then he gets Cluin on the drop down, and I think Belgian gets the win there to get into that Consi final, qualify for regionals, and then loses to Heber. Apologize if I'm saying the name incorrectly. And then Cluin beats Martin for 5th place. So you got Chapman, Verespe, Heber, and then Belgian. Belgian sneaking in with a record of coming in today on Saturday with a record of 14-14, and makes his way into regionals. Just on 14-14. I haven't said it much this year, but it's one of those things where you look at a 14-14 record, but then you scratch the surface and look at just who they've wrestled this year and the schedule that Penridge has seen. And 14-14, with an easier schedule, he could easily be 24-10. But he wrestled a tough schedule, so he is battle tested in that from that Penridge program, from that Penridge program. So let's move into the last bracket of this, and then I'll give my prediction for the overall tournament winner. And we look at 220 pounds, and we got Ryan Cody from North Penn, part of that punch, the top of the lineup for the Knights. And this weight class also has Paulo DeSanto from Plymouth White Marsh, Trent Petro from CB East, and Nick Cooper from Bensalem. Cooper, returning state qualifier, ranked number 1 in the region. I like him and Cody to make the finals against one another, but I'm going to take Cody for the win over Cooper. I know Cooper beat Cody last time they wrestled, but I'm not buying into it. That was a while ago. I'm going with Cody to win. DeSanto and Cooper is going to be a pretty good match in that semifinals. Cooper and Petro is going to be a good match in the quarterfinals. There's just a lot of matches here, and we have 5 guys vying for 4 spots. So if we look at the drop downs here and the wrestlebacks, you have Slaughter beating Saska. Petro, as a result of losing in that quarterfinal, drops down, but I'm beating Thompson, and from Wissahickon, beating Radovich and Thompson to get to that consolation semifinal, or get consolation final, losing to DeSanto from Plymouth White Marsh, and then Slaughter beating Thompson for 5th place. So your guys getting out are going to be Cody, Cooper, DeSanto, and Petro, with Slaughter taking 5th place. And that this weight class, again, 4 good guys, 5 good guys, 4 get out, and it's real top heavy with Cody and Cooper. Both guys are very good, and it should be a great final. And that's what we have for these brackets here. Now, if we look at you want prediction for the team race, I'm going to go Rock South, and followed up by Rock North, and After that, it could be any. You're gonna see, you know, Neshaminy, North Penn, Penridge. It'll be in the mix because their guys will score some bonus points. They're gonna be they're always a tough tournament team. Quakertown will be there in the top 5, I believe, and just outside the top 5, you'll probably see Hatboro and Satterton in the mix there. They just have a but this tournament's pretty top heavy with Rock North and Rock South, and even so, there's a definite difference between North and South. South with being the favorite to win. So there you have it, folks. That is the East bracket. As always, make sure you go to the YouTube page and give it a like, so that help out PAWrestling.com, and look forward to some of the talk about the predictions on the website, on the forum rather, especially at 126-pound weight class. I'd like to know what you guys think about some of my predictions, and definitely want to know what my cousin Mo thinks about it. And Jet, can't wait to see your predictions. I know you're working hard in the lab to make it happen. So that's what we have there, and thanks for tuning in.